How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another live stream, another deadline stream here on Twitch. Didn't have the stream up as early. I was messing around with a few things, but got it just in time for the stream as well. So we're going to be talking Game Week 10. We're going to be seeing what transfers I made before the price changes last night. We're also going to be taking a look at the goals a minute table, who to captain, which seems pretty obvious, who to captain against, and yeah, just go over some normal stuff that we normally do as well. So yeah, just gonna go over the user stuff a bit on the casual side. Nothing really too crazy going on this week for Game Week 10. No real kind of crucial injuries or something like that that's going to really dictate things. Lukaku. But yeah, we'll take a look at all of those things and see who made way, who came in, and how we're going to be doing this week. So without further ado, let's talk about our sponsors, Fantasy Football Scout. So, if you haven't done so already, Fantasy Football Scout is fantastic. You're going to see a few of the tables that we make in the members area today. They have a bunch of different tools, and they're all driven by Opta stats tables, the ones that involve stats, that is, and it's fantastic. So check out the link in the About section, or if you're watching this over on YouTube or any of my YouTube videos, make sure to check the link in the description below. That's going to take you to the Fantasy Football Scout members area. It's going to help us, it's going to help you. It's fantastic. Like I said, I use it on every video, and I use it to make my decisions as well. So it's going to help elevate your FPL game like it has mine this season. So make sure to check that out. Now, without further ado, let's see what transfers I made. So, as you can see, we've brought in a few new faces. We brought in double I almost said double Burnley. That would be terrible. Double Brentford. We got rid of Raya. We brought in his backup in Fernandez. And we brought in Ivan Toney for Lukaku. And we now have, excuse me, a lot in the bank. Basically, we have 5 million in the bank. So if you watched the did watch the preview video, you would have seen that I was either considering just getting rid of Fernandez and bringing in Foster, and I wanted to get rid of St. Maximin this week because he plays Chelsea. But if I have the ability to bench him, then maybe it's not too bad. You know, he plays Brentford away, Brighton at home, Arsenal, Norwich, and Burnley. Maybe it's not too bad. Definitely going to get rid of him before this because that's not ideal. But maybe he has, some games coming up like Norwich and Burnley where he could prove to be quite useful. So we'll hang on to him just for a little while longer. But it was Lukaku who made way. So yeah, we currently have 5 million in the bank, which is quite a lot actually. So we can do what we want basically next week. So if we find that like Mbomo is going to be injured, or Arsenal's form turns down, basically we can use our funds to get the players that we want. Basically, Smith Rowe could easily become the likes of a Son with that amount of money. So I think we're looking okay, and he could be the one that I'm eyeing up for next week. Or even the week after, potentially. Hopefully the week after, because we want to save a transfer, as we mentioned, going into the international break. So hopefully we can get that sorted, and no issues are next week, so that we can go into the international break nice and easy, straightforward, no real injury concerns, and then we can make some aggressive fixture swing transfers for Spurs players if they're looking good. Obviously, I mean, for all we know, Nuno might not even be in a job after today, so who knows? And Solskjaer the same. So we will have to pay attention to that as well. Right. Now, As you can see up on the screen, we do have our looks to be a Christmas tree formation. A little bit early, considering it's one day till Halloween, but it's fine. So we got Fernandes in goal. Really putting our efforts in on Brentford here with triple Brentford. We've got our double Chelsea defense with Reece James and Chilwell, who I've vice captain this week. I think it's actually going to stay on him because I think he's probably the next likely to get the most points in the team. But I mean, Salah's going to play versus Brighton almost certainly. So if they drop Mo Salah, I don't even know what Liverpool would look like. But Chilwell, vice captain. Maybe Salah gets rested versus Atletico because they're already up significant amount of points in that group anyway, or drop rested rather. Excuse me. Bit early in the morning, but yeah, maybe Salah gets rotated versus Atletico because in the Premier League Liverpool can't let up. You let up and then Chelsea gets 4 points ahead of you, and then it might not be attainable. City, Chelsea, and Liverpool all have fixtures from now until game week 20, I think it is, where they just don't play each other. And the toughest fixture that either one of them have is like United, I think. And that's Chelsea and City play United in that run of 10 games, but they don't play each other. So Chelsea doesn't play Liverpool or City, and so on and so forth, which is very interesting. So they're definitely going to be wanting to get 10 wins out of 10 in that time span, if they want to keep chase at the top, which we can actually take. I can take a look at on the side here. Premier League table. So the Premier League table is let me see if I can I'm gonna put it in the window here. There we go. You should be able to see that now. So yeah, the Premier League table is looking a bit congested at the top. You got Chelsea at the very top. Who did Chelsea lose to? I'm trying to remember, who did Chelsea lose to? I can't remember. Was it City? Did they lose 1-0 to City? I can't remember. Beat Norwich, beat Brentford, beat Southampton. Yeah, City. That's who it was. I was like, they can't have lost to anyone good, from what I remember. And City lost to Spurs. So yeah, if you look at like from Brentford up to Brighton, which is 5th to 12th, there's literally 3 points in it. So Brentford wins today, they're tied on points with Brighton if they were to lose to Liverpool. And Brentford would actually go ahead of them because their goal difference is better. And Brentford play Burnley, so they look to be in good stead there. Leeds have a little bit of gap on the bottom, which is good for them. Once they start getting their players back, they'll probably go up higher in the table. But yeah, look, 1 point in between Liverpool, Chelsea, and City each. I think it's probably going to be like this pretty much the whole season. Liverpool still the only team that is undefeated, having not dropped points apart from draws all season. Although Chelsea getting the most wins this season thus far. So it is very close at the top. I predicted Chelsea to win the league, but it's going to be close. I didn't expect Liverpool to be this good. This is like not even the season that they won the Premier League good. This is arguably better. At least in attack, probably, I would say. So yeah, it's gonna be really tight at the top, very very tight at the top, and that's why we have these guys in defense because they play for the best teams that keep the most clean sheets. So that's why I just think it's just, especially with the with the lack of premium options, like you know if we just kind of name them off. So you have Salah's obviously doing well. We have him in the team. Then you're looking at Mane. Can you double up with Mane? I mean, you could, but I probably wouldn't say that double up is absolutely necessary until maybe game week 13, where the fixtures start to get like real good for a sustained run, and then you might go Jota there as well and just take the benchings just because he's cheaper. I'm on course to have 3 City, 3 Chelsea, and 3 Liverpool, the only consistent teams in the league. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's true. Like I was thinking the other day, I was like, Chelsea's. I wanted to start getting rid of my Chelsea defenders after um, game week 12, and then I was like, but do I really? Like maybe there's going to be some that are rotated. Maybe I swap to somebody more consistent. So instead of Reece James, I go Antonio Rudiger or something like that. But I don't think I do. Like Chelsea could just like keep 2 clean sheets here. They could beat Leicester with a clean sheet. They could beat United with a clean sheet. They could beat everyone on this list with a clean sheet potentially. And then they play Liverpool and City, so that's not ideal. Which would, when they play Liverpool, means I'm probably gonna have to play at least one of them. And then they play City, excuse me, I'm gonna have to probably play some of the defenders there as well, even though I don't want to. But then you look at this run with Chelsea. I mean, that looks good. That looks like the run that was initially up here from game week 8 to game week 11 that Lukaku missed out on. But if he's back, then we'll want him for that. With Chelsea midfielders, I don't really want to mess around with the Mason Mounts, the Kai Havertzes, the Kovacic even. Don't really want to go with there. I'm going to go with something that's a little bit more consistent that I know Chelsea are going to do on a game-to-game basis, which is get clean sheets. And what better to do that than to get to the defenders? It's looking like a bit of a masterstroke, to be honest, with Chilwell and James in the team. We brought them both in on the game week 8 wildcard. Reece James came off the bench for 1 point, which wasn't ideal. But Chilwell's gotten 15 and 12 points in 2 games for us, which is very good. And Reece James got 13 last week, so it's pretty good. Livramento has Newcastle and Wolves and Chelsea's hard game weeks. Yeah, what I might do eventually is get rid of, depending on who's looking the most likely to be rotated, which is probably Reece James. I'll probably end up downgrading Reece James to somebody else, and then go for someone a bit cheaper. But excuse me. At the moment, there's no real players to spend it on. Because if you really deep it, so let's run through like the big 6 teams. So you got Liverpool. Liverpool, you have Mo Salah, you have Trent Alexander-Arnold, and then you have +1. Well, you don't really want to go Firmino. You can go Jota, or you can go Mane. But at the moment, are they really necessary for the double up? I wouldn't say so at the moment, because you're captaining Salah every week. You have Trent. I think that's fine for Liverpool. If Jota and Mane do something, it doesn't really affect you rank-wise. Now, when it comes here, then maybe you can go Jota as one of those, other midfielders, because Jota will start games and he will score. That's the thing. Hi, Iwas. How's it going? So that's only maybe there. Let's look at Man City. Man City, as much as everyone would like to, nobody can predict what Pep Guardiola's gonna do. Basically, Jota has been bad though. Has he? Um, has Jota been bad though? I mean, let's see. He's got 4 goals and an assist this season. So across 9 game weeks, he's gotten 5 returns. He's gotten 5 returns. Now those two of those returns came in the last game week. But I don't think that's bad. Like, yes, it could be better. Are there better value players probably around this price bracket? Probably. I think Diogo Jota, if he starts to pick up his his assists a little bit more, he could be very, very good. But if you extrapolate this to the end of the season, he could end the season on like 12 goals, 4 assists, something like that. And would that be a good season for him? Yeah, that'd probably be pretty damn good, to be honest. I mean, he doesn't need to score very much as long as Salah keeps scoring, because Salah's on like 10 goals or something stupid already. Jota's risky with Firmino right now. Yeah, that's the only real worry. That's why I said you could go him. He's not like mandatory. He's not like, oh, he's Mo Salah. He has to be in there, right? Just gonna reset that. So then if we he will crush during AFCON. Yeah, that's another thing. African Cup of Nations, when Salah, Mane, Keita all leave, that could be an issue basically. So what's your plan for those transfers to the game week? It all depends on who's in form basically. It all depends on who's in form because we don't know. It could be a third United asset. It could be more Chelsea. It could be more City. We just don't know. That's way down the line, which is something we don't need to worry about for several game weeks. Like African Cup of Nations starts, I think, after like once they play this game versus Leicester. Like this run of fixtures is literally when African Cup of Nations is. Yeah, it could be 2 games, it could be 3 games, could be 4 games. We don't know. It depends on how far they progress in the tournament, right? But this is a like pretty good run of fixtures right here, where African Cup of Nations is. So I want to do Aspie to Chilwell, but it's just so risky. Yeah, I think Aspie comes back in though today. Whether he's right side center back or right wing back, I think he's back in today. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. I wouldn't think. I mean, Chilwell might not start today too. That's another thing. We just don't know. Tuchel can literally play anyone he wants. You know, if your manager say, oh well, this guy didn't play midweek, and you know, it'll be fine. Mendy will play AFCON as well, so some of Chelsea's defense might be affected. I think Kepa should be okay. During that time. I mean, they play Liverpool, Man City, Spurs, and Brighton, so they're probably not going to expect much clean sheets there anyway. So, but yeah. So getting back to the top team. So Salah and Trent. With Man City, only really Phil Foden is just starting to pique our interest and say, hey, look, I'm going to be the guy this season for City as a consistent player. Otherwise than that, it's really only been Diaz and Cancelo when you really deep it for outfield players that isn't Ederson. So, and De Bruyne is not even potentially guaranteed. I think De Bruyne could just eventually just become the Champions League guy. which might mean the likes of Gundogan or players like that see more time in midfield in the Premier League, which would be nice because they're cheaper and we don't care about the Champions League. We only care about the Premier League. So, yeah, that could be quite nice for us if we see that type of pattern arise. Depends when they leave for AFCON. If they leave the 26th of December, they will miss 6 games. But if they delay the travel, they will miss 2 games no matter the progression. Yeah, it just depends on when they go. I think it's supposed to be after the game on the 28th, I think. But I could be wrong on that. I mean, there was speculation of, earlier this week where they were talking about that maybe it might not even happen. So we'll have to wait and see. That's why I said it's so many game weeks down the line. There's like, how many game weeks is it until January? It's like 10 game weeks. It's more game weeks than we had between now and that time, basically. So, yeah. Who to bench? Hwang, Mbomo, or Townsend? Bit of a tricky one, actually. That is tricky. Probably Townsend, maybe, just because he's away from home and plays a tougher team in Wolves than Mbomo does. If Mbomo's fit, you play him over all of them for sure. And then probably Hwang, I guess. That would be my order, by the way. It would be Mbomo, Hwang, and then Townsend, I think. Assuming they're all fit. Yes, Mbomo is flagged, but if he's going to play, then you'd want him because he's the easiest fixture, I would say. Because Burnley aren't very good. Yeah, so you're looking at Jota, you're looking at Foden, but then those are 2 players that are rotation risk. They're very good when they play, but will they play often enough? And Foden might even become a Champions League player as well. Yeah, I guess they will get to play. Yeah, exactly. Then you look at Chelsea. Again, Chelsea's mainly just the thing that they do the best is get clean sheets. There was a stat, I think, before the game. Before the game last week versus Norwich, it was something along the lines of like, out of the last 28, I don't know if it was 28 goals or 28 game weeks, but basically the stat alluded to the fact that Chelsea number 9s don't get very many goals. It was like single digit. It was like 6 goals or something like that. So they just aren't, like, Chelsea number 9s just don't score goals, basically. Unless there's a focal point with Lukaku in the team. And he's injured at the moment and won't be back until when Chelsea start to play like Leicester and United and teams like that. But we might even consider getting Lukaku, back during this run. But then Ronaldo's fixtures get good as well. So again, there's not really anyone I can spend money on at the moment, which is why having 5 million in the bank leaves me actually more flexible. Do I bench Ramsdale for Foster? Foster has Southampton at home. Ramsdale has Leicester away. I would say yes, because I considered Foster as well. I would say probably. And that the only reason I say that is because, one, Southampton don't score very many goals typically against like halfway decent teams. And 2, Leicester typically score versus Arsenal historically. So, yeah, I would play Foster over Ramsdale if I had him. But I'm also playing Fernandes over Ramsdale as well. So that kind of shows you. But yeah, I would probably play Foster, and just because it's Southampton at home as well, and maybe that 5-2 kind of implosion from Everton will galvanize Ranieri's Watford and allow them to get a clean sheet. I think he said something like if they get a clean sheet, he'll take them out to a nice dinner or something like that and pay for it or something. I don't know. But yeah. But yeah, Chelsea's just clean sheets and Lukaku mainly is what you're looking at in terms of starts and consistency. Um, so so again, Lukaku's injured. Jota has Firmino to deal with at the moment. Foden's only just come into the fray, and I still want to see a little bit more from City to kind of gauge them in terms of who Pep's going to keep playing. If he keeps playing Jesus or he keeps playing Foden in the Premier League, or we keep seeing that he's playing Gundogan in midfield over De Bruyne, who's going to be used for Champions League exclusively, then that could favor cheaper City alternatives. Finding basically like the next Phil Foden could be the one to go for during the Christmas period, because there will be rotation during the Christmas period. Then you look at Man United. I mean, going nowhere near them at the moment in their my team. So, yeah. But if you were to go for players, I think the three best would probably just be Ronaldo, Rashford, and then maybe Luke Shaw. But that's if United need to start keeping some clean sheets, and they need to buckle down. But they really need a new management team is what they need. If they get the new manager bounce for that game week 15 onwards, then you'll probably see some ridiculous results. So we will see. Son in for Rafinha next week. We don't have to do it next week. Rafinha playing Leicester at home isn't bad. I mean, if he's injured, then maybe we could just bench him. Like, I don't have to necessarily play Rafinha next week. So if Rafinha's injured next week, I mean, I just play Smith Rowe versus Watford at home, which I was probably going to do anyway. So Diaz and Cancelo play United. Trent plays West Ham. Chilwell and James play Burnley. Ramsdale plays Watford, so he'll play over Fernandes probably. No, Fernandes plays Norwich, so we'll play Fernandes probably. We'll play Fernandes. We'll play James, Chilwell, Trent. We'll play Cancelo. We'll play Mbomo, Toney, Jimenez, Salah, and then basically two other slots. One of which will be Smith Rowe, and the other one can either be Diaz or St. Maximin, who plays Brighton. So we don't have to necessarily get rid of Rafinha, but I could do it in one transfer if I wanted to, if I felt that Son, was gonna be, worth it versus Everton. We can get on him early because this run is real good. But if Everton shore it up a little bit more and they're a lot more defensive and they're better against Wolves, then maybe we'll probably wait and see. And also if Spurs is just rubbish versus United this week, then maybe I hold off on that as well. But that's something I'm definitely looking at for sure. I could also easily just take one of my forwards and just turn them into Kane as well, because ideally I want to go into. I'm trying to see what I can do. So if I go into this week, the following week with 2 free transfers, 5 million in the bank, like St. Maximin can basically become Kane with 0.3 million dropped elsewhere, and Son can just come in for basically any midfielder. So, but I think Son will probably be the one to go for. He seems to be the one in form. And he'll probably be the one I ultimately go for if he's okay. And then Jimenez will make way for if United are looking better by the time Game Week 15 rolls around. I mean, Jimenez is not looking great. So let's say for argument's sake, we get rid of Smith Rowe in Game Week 12. Let's just say that. We bring in Son in 12, and then we could do another transfer to whoever we want if we want it. But by Game Week 15, what ideally I want to do is, if United is looking better, maybe they have a new manager or something like that, then is to go like Son's fixtures are still decent after the fact. But United's are ridiculous, so what I would do is probably get rid of Son, Saint Maximin, and Jimenez probably at that time. Ronaldo could be like 12 million by then, we don't know. But like United's fixtures are absolutely absurd. Like they play a lot of bad teams during that time. Tom _ Jackson 7 says Toney in and Ronaldo out. Yeah, I'm an advocate of that. I'm a United fan and I'm an advocate of that. Mine was a little bit easier of a decision because I have Lukaku, but yeah, I would say yeah, probably. Yeah, Ronaldo would come in. Then we could probably go with a budget forward. I'll just go Keenan Davis as an example. Old Faithful. And then depending on who's looking, good at the time for United, if Greenwood's still being played, there could be players that just crop up that are just, who knows how good they are. But you never know. We could also just go to another cheap midfielder. There's many different ways we can do it. One of these players could get downgraded to Shaw as well. This is looking way far ahead. We don't know what the landscape's going to be. There could be injuries to United players. There could be, we have to worry about African Cup of Nations as well. Eventually on that run, because United's run stems through the African Cup of Nations. So is it a situation where we get rid of Salah, use that funds to get United players, and then bring Salah back when he comes back? We'll have to wait and see. Because Salah could be coming back by the time... Norwich at home, you're going to want Salah for Norwich at home. I hear a lot of ifs with United players. Yeah, there is a lot of ifs at the moment. There could be a different management team by that time. That's what I'm saying. But in theory, Ronaldo's, the Rashfords, the Luke Shaws, they could be in our thinking by that time. So yeah, we kind of still have to pay attention to it. Game week 15 is it's just before like the Christmas period starts to ramp up, really. Yeah, that would be their first midweek game in the Premier League. Salah's 70.5% owned. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. He's going to be close to 200% captain this week. Almost certainly. So if he's 70% owned, and he's captained by everyone, then how much ownership is that? What's that, like 140% or something like that? I'm not even sure how that calculation works. I can't remember. We'll see. We shall see. But yeah, United players, it is a lot of ifs. Spurs, you're only looking at Kane and Son. Hey Zodiac, how's it going? You're only looking at Kane and Son, realistically. Maybe Reguilon. Maybe. But Son more so than Kane. I don't think that you're going to need to have both. But we don't really know. I think one over that run is fine. It's not like Spurs are opening teams up for like 5 goals a game. It's only when teams are doing a lot of damage to teams that you can be like that you can be excited about, them getting multiple returns. So like when Liverpool is winning 3-0 every game, there is justification to have potentially 2 Liverpool attackers, as an example. If City's opening teams up for 5 every game, there's justification for potentially having 2 City attackers. Although City kind of spread it around a little bit, whereas Liverpool, it's probably going to be Mane, Salah, Jota, Firmino, probably. So, does Man U have the players to play anything else other than a 4-2-3-1? If they use CR7, Cavani, then Bruno probably be more defensive. Maybe 4-3-3. Bruno isn't a winger. So there's this myth that Bruno Fernandes is exclusively a number 10. He played in a 4-3-3 for a lot of last season in Portugal's system as like a attacking number 8 on the right side of a midfield 3. So if, let's say hypothetically, United find this midfielder, a defensive midfielder, well, everyone throws around the name N'Golo Kante, but let's just put him in there. If United had a midfield 3, like a proper 3, like a Man City 3, you have Bernardo Silva on the left, you have De Bruyne on the right, or Gundogan, and then you have Rodri, right? If you have Pogba on the left, Bruno on the right, and Kante or some very good defensive midfielder there, you can control games and dominate games with that midfield. Bruno can be more of like a deep-lying playmaker, almost Paul Scholes-esque, and be a bit more of a creative force rather than a goal-scoring force. And then you could tell Pogba to use his size and strength to, if he wants to dictate from deep, then he could be the runner into the box as well. Like, you can do that. Like, Man City control games with a midfield of Bernardo Silva, Rodri, and De Bruyne. Now, I hate to break it to you all, but Rodri has worse worse numbers than McTominay for some passing stats, which is mental to think about. There was something, it was like the amount of progressive passes like received or whatnot is like worse for McTominay, but McTominay's is better in other areas, which is just crazy. But the one thing that Rodri has over the likes of McTominay and Fred, and as does Fabinho and Kante and these sorts of players, is that they have this. They're smart. They position themselves in such a way to whereas they can, kind of stop the danger before it even happens. You don't have to be extremely quick. You don't have to be the greatest technical player. If you're intelligent and you can pass the ball decently, you can be a defensive midfielder. But the intelligence in passing is the key. If you can receive the ball under pressure, play it quickly, whether it be out wide or a progressive pass, and you can know when and where to be to foul people or take people down to stop transitions, that's what you need to be a defensive midfielder. That's basically it. Those two attributes, being able to pass the ball or get rid of the ball or distribute the ball under pressure and dictate games from the midfield, and 2, knowing when and where to be to stop transitions and cut out attacks. And that's much easier to do when you're closer to their goal, which United aren't. United have the back 4 like this. They have McTominay and Fred extremely close to them like this. And then they have the forward line up here, with this massive gap up here in between them, which is why it's bad. How will Bruno win those penalties from a playmaker role position? You have your front three win the penalties, if anything. That's kind of the point. The guys that should be darting into the box should be like your front three, typically. It should be Rashford cutting in. It should be Sancho trying to create. It should be Mason Greenwood cutting in. It should be Ronaldo in the box. But I think people will key a lot into, oh, United, got a lot of penalties. But I think it was mainly due to the fact that it was just an anomaly of a season, to be honest. Because VAR was a joke. I saw Zodiac had a question. Any early team news about flagged players today? Probably not. Probably not. Only Arsenal and Leicester team news will probably be what we get. Speaking of which, let me bring up another window off to the side so that I can at least check it if I need to. Yeah, nothing yet. But Greenwood doesn't run. He's more of a Scholes kind of player, fantastic shot, but that's about it. Another thing, Scholes ran, that's another thing that people don't realize. Scholes ran around a lot. He wasn't great at tackling, but he still covered space. Whereas McTominay and Fred, like, if you just watch the first goal, they get beat by a line-breaking pass because United don't know how to press and they don't know how to position themselves. That play could have been completely cut out on that first goal. So the ball, if you watch the tactics talk that I have, you can go back and watch it. I only cover the first goal because I think it's the most significant of all of them in terms of what dictated the game. The ball goes towards Robertson on the touchline. Greenwood runs towards him. It's not pressing. He literally just runs towards him with Wan-Bissaka coming and trying to stop it down the line. The ball gets played into Jota. When the ball gets played into Diogo Jota, that ball could be cut out to Firmino if McTominay was already on his way towards pressing Jota to force Robertson to play back inside to either Henderson if he can get it to him, or back to where it came from with Van Dijk. Excuse me, Van Dijk. If McTominay reads it that, hey, look, he's going to play it down the line to Jota, because it's a very simple pattern. United do it too. Maguire to Shaw, Shaw to Rashford, Rashford inside to one of the defensive midfielders, then to the other defensive midfielder, then back to the other centre back, then back around if they wanted to do it that way. But they didn't even look at that. United's pressing strategy was, hey, look, there's a guy near you, run at him. Which ain't good. But I do agree that Greenwood and the wide players in particular, they need to track back because they don't. And there's reasons why Shaw's wide open and Wan-Bissaka's wide open. Wan-Bissaka less so because Wan-Bissaka is actually good at defending on a consistent basis, whereas Shaw this season in particular has been pulled out of position, and mainly that's due to Maguire because the back line is just all over the shop. But Wan-Bissaka 1v1 can just get himself out of situation because he's very good at tackling and recovered tackling at that. Do I start St. Maximin or Digne? Digne plays Wolves. Probably St. Maximin. If I had to guess. I would say St. Maximin, to be honest. That is tough, though, because they're both not ideal fixtures. But, yeah, I'd go St. Maximin. I mean, Greenwood isn't a natural winger. Yeah, and Scholes amazing. Yeah, I understood what you were getting. Greenwood is not a winger. He's a wide forward, which is completely different than an out-and-out, like, attacking midfielder or winger. Wingers will do what Mo Salah can do. Mo Salah's kind of a bit weird because he's a hybrid. Him and Mane are weird. They can hold the width, but they can also come inside and know when to get goals. Wide forwards are players that typically stay within mostly the width of the 18, or they stay on the corner of the 18 and come in. Um, Out and out like wingers typically want to stay on the touchline, go around on the overlap. They want to create chances. So like Mars is kind of that hybrid. Whereas the likes of like when Raheem Sterling plays out on the right hand side for Man City, he plays as like an out and out winger. He holds the touchline, he gets to the byline, he then crosses the ball, creates cutback scenarios. That's what he does. But in the modern game, with so much evolution in the fullback role, there's less need for that because fullbacks are the hardest position, in my opinion, to play in a very attack-minded system because they have to not only fly up the pitch, but they also got to get back as well, which is why a defensive midfielder is so crucial. If you don't have decent or a very intelligent defensive midfielder and two center backs, and your fullbacks start flying forward, you could be in trouble on the counter. No problem. But this is also stemmed from the fact that not many teams play two up front anymore. So, but that's a rabbit hole that could go. I could talk about that sort of stuff for hours, and tactics can be a bit over the top than what they would otherwise need to be. But yeah, if you ain't got a good set of if you ain't got a good defensive minded midfielder that knows where and when he needs to be in certain places, your center backs will look exposed, which is why Man United looks exposed, because McTominay and Fred don't know where or when to be. The further are back towards their center backs, the worse they actually are, which is funny because that's what we seem to tell them to do. You find that United play a much better when they press up with a high line, but they press as a unit, which they don't do very often. And McTominay and Fred are able to intercept the ball 30 yards or inward towards the opposition's goal. That's when they're the most effective. That's where Conte's the most effective. That's where Rodri's the most effective. It's almost like it's a very good strategy when you press high up the pitch, and your defensive midfielder can make fouls or he can intercept the ball in and around like this area inward on the pitch. So yeah. Let's take a look at some of the Fantasy Football Scout members area. So this is what the Fantasy Football Scout members area looks like, or at least some of the tables that I've made. This one is the captaincy table that I've made. So who to captain, and it's sorted by expected goal involvement. We got the big chances created, big chance created, shots inside the box, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, funnily enough, Salah's way ahead. But second is Son as well, which is quite interesting. So again, we're keeping an eye on him. Kane starting to creep up the table a little bit. This is over the last 4 game weeks as well. Fernandes is still there because he creates so many chances. So he might, if he trickles down to 11.5 million, maybe the Triple United could be there. Maybe he'll be better of an asset than Ronaldo. We will see, because we believe he's still on penalties as well. But that's for further down the line. Mane and Diego Jota have kind of dipped off a little bit, which is why I said earlier, are they actually mandatory at the moment? Probably not, with Salah being kind of the focal point of the creation and the goal scoring as well. So, was the opponent's XGA counted in? What do you mean by XGA? I'm not sure what you mean by XGA. We have a table for like the defensive side of things as well. Oh, XG against. Oh, so XG conceded. So the way XG conceded works, that's basically a team statistic, which is basically it's they take all the accumulation of shots, and then they take the XG from all of them. They add them up and they say this is how much likely goals were supposed to be scored versus a team. So, like, as an example, I think a penalty is like 0.75, 0.76, which is like every 3 and 4 penalties will be scored, basically. So Salah, over the last 4 game weeks, is expected to have scored 4.67 goals and assists. He's obviously scored way more than that. He's got 6 goals and 3 assists because Salah's clinical. And you'll find that players of higher quality will exceed their XG, which is a good metric. Vardy is an example. 4 goals, 2.10 XGI. He scored 2 more goals than what he probably should have already because he's good. And that's what you want to find. You want to find players that are overperforming, but still have the good stats behind it to show, like Salah. Salah's getting lots of shots in the box, creating chances, got a lot of big chances, always involved, that sort of stuff. But in the captaincy thing is pretty straightforward. It's going to be Salah. Also, less than 10 minutes till the FPL deadline, by the way. This is the captaincy against table. So this is like our what I like to call, and as the Scoutcast calls it, the whipping boys table, which is basically the worst defenses in the league. So over the last 4 game weeks, we sorted it by XG conceded, so XG against in this case, that Nova has mentioned, and it shows that Man United is the worst. Brighton has just conceded 9 and 9, so Salah's XG seemed a bit high. So if we look at Brighton over the last 4 game weeks, their XG is 6. So they should have conceded 6 goals. He should have conceded 6 goals. So when you say, we'll go back to the previous comment. Brighton has just conceded 9 and 9, so Salah's XG seemed a bit high. His expected goals is based on the games he's played, not who he's going to play. So what XG is, it's very straightforward. What they've done is when a player takes a shot, let's say on the penalty spot, outside of the 18, on the goal line, when a player takes a shot, they give a percentage chance for that shot going in based on a historical database of thousands and thousands of shots that have been taken, right? And they say, what is the likely chance that this goes in? And they account for, like, where the height of the ball is. Is it bouncing? Is it on the ground? Is there a defender in front of them? What foot are they? You know, they account for all these sorts of minute things and kind of say, that shot right there is probably a 70% chance that they'll score. Or, you know, like a typical, like, James Maddison free kick is, like, from, like, 25 plus yards out where he whips it into the top corner. It's like a 0.2% chance or something like that. 0.02, so 2% basically. Whereas a penalty is a 75% chance. It's 0.75. So Salah, when his XGI, which is expected goal involvement, that's goals and assists, is 4.81, that means he's expected to have scored and assisted combined 5 goals and assists total. So whether that's 4 assists, 1 goal, 5 goals, no assists, it amalgamates them together. But we know that Salah's gotten 6 goals and 3 assists, which means he's exceeded that. So when he's getting chances that are maybe 0.20, so 20% chance, and he's scoring them, then he's exceeding that. And if you want to take Brighton as an example here, Brighton's XG conceded is 6. So Brighton should have conceded 6 goals based on the shots that they've taken. So when it's in the reverse for XG conceded, they take all the XG, so like how they do for individual players, they just take them and they do it for the team, all the shots against them. So when Brighton played City last week, all those shots would have been taken and they're combined up, and they'll say, what was the XG total for this? And then they whack it onto this stat right here. And then it shows that Brighton have actually done better. They've only conceded 5 goals, but they should have conceded 6, which means that either they're getting somewhat lucky, they're blocking a lot of these good quality shots, or their goalkeeper is saving them, or saving them quite good, which is where XG prevented comes in, which is a stat basically measured based on how many goals they should have conceded via XG, how much the goalkeepers actually, impacted them not conceding those goals. The thing with Salah is that he's almost never takes a shot outside the box, so that probably boosts his XG, right? Correct. That is a good point to see. there. The closer you are to goal, the more likely you are to score. Now, some players are just very good at shooting from outside the box. James Madison's one. Um, Mason Greenwood is very good at shooting from outside the box. Riyad Mahrez is good at shooting from outside the box. Those players will be sometimes a bit of an anomaly. But since Salah shoots often inside the box, his XG goes up a lot quicker, which means when he misses, his stats can go from overperforming to underperforming very much quicker than other players. Because Salah does shoot a lot, but he also often scores a lot. So yeah, typically the closer you are to goal, and the more central you are to goal, the more likely chance that XG of that shot is going to be higher. But yeah, if we look over the last 4 game weeks, United's the worst. It's not looking good for United. So Spurs could easily open them up as well. Less than 4 minutes to the deadline, so thereabouts, yeah. 3 minutes exactly now. Just went 57 minutes past. So make sure you have your lineups all set up. But yeah, United's defense isn't looking great. But Brighton's still what's that? Seventh worst. So I think captaining Salah versus Brighton's been worse than Newcastle. Like Newcastle, if we look at Newcastle just in isolation, Newcastle conceded 7 goals, but they've only should have conceded 5.68. So either the defense is worse than what it's suggesting, or they've just been unlucky and they've conceded lower XG shots, as an example. Right, let's take a quick look at the goals imminent table. So if you have any of these players, this is a table that's basically designed to show the players that are likely to score, or most likely to score, in the next upcoming games. So these are players that have had at least 10 goal attempts and 0.5 non-penalty XG, and have only scored 1 or less goals. So Ronaldo's on there, Watkins, Trossard, Redmond, Pogba, Partey, and Mbeumo is on there. So hopefully he scores for us today. Kane, Mason Greenwood, Jared Bowen, and Said Benrahma. So those are all players that this table is basically designed to show, hey, these could be the players that next get that double-digit hole, or the next players that will score, or something like that. So yeah, let's make sure we have our team in order here. So we'll run through the lineup one more time. We got Fernandes in goal, the Alvaro Fernandes for the backup goalkeeper for Brentford. We got James. We got Chilwell as a vice captain. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Ruben Diaz, Cancelo, Rafinha, Salah captain, Mbeumo, Jimenez, and Toney, with Ramsdale, Smith Rowe, St. Maximin, and Brownhill on the bench. So yeah, I think we are fine. So yeah, less than a minute now. So make sure all your teams are in order. Mine's pretty much good to go, I think. So what I'm gonna do, actually, while I'm thinking of it, is I'm not sure if I did take a screenshot of my team, but I'm gonna do it right now because I always forget. There we go. And we'll just crop it really nice. Make it look all professional. And we'll save that. So that I can have that for when I go to post it over on Twitter. So that should be the deadline. I'm going to refresh in just a second here. One does love a nice crop. Yeah, true. That's also a bit of foreshadowing for our potential sponsor plug that we might be having soon. So keep an eye on that. Watch this space, as one would say. But yeah, Yeah, so it looks like we're all ready to go for this game week as the deadline has passed. The game is updating soon. I like how they put these little things here. This is nice. I like that. A little bit of reading while the game updates. But let's move over to the Fantasy Football Scout screens. We talk about that just one more time. So, Fantasy Football Scout, you saw the tables. They're fantastic. They help give you the stats that you need to help elevate your FPL game. The link's in the chat at the moment. It's also in the About section. It's also pinned on all of my videos in the comments, not in the comment section, in the description as well. There's usually a preseason offer during the preseason, but you can still sign up, still get the same access to all the tools, and then coming into the preseason next season, you can always sign up and get the discount, which is quite nice. So yeah, make sure to check that out. And yeah, let's move over to the big screen. So that is gonna do it for the Game Week 10 deadline. We brought in Toney. We brought in the backup goalkeeper for Brentford. So let's see how that goes. Salah captain as per normal. And yeah, hopefully we can have another good game week. Hopefully you all had your teams lined up and ready to go for Game Week 10. We're going to post the VOD as per normal as we do over on YouTube. And I believe in Game Week next week it's actually a shorter deadline, so the deadline stream will be on the Thursday because it's a Friday start, I believe, next week. So a shorter week next week, and then it's the international break again, which they need to kind of stop doing that, which they will after this next international break. So then we have the Christmas period, which is always fun. A lot of game weeks in a short amount of time. So make sure you have your FPL teams ready and raring to go. Make sure you keep on top of it. And like, favorite, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know the drill. Pilot Flame 226 on all platforms. And until the next one, take care.